I'm going to talk about a thing called Wabi Sabi. I actually have some cards made. I'm going to put my champagne down. Wabi Sabi is a funny thing. It's basically a Japanese aesthetic. If you go up to any Japanese person and ask them what Wabi Sabi is, I'm sure they're going to giggle a little bit nervously, as Japanese people do, and explain how hard it is to explain Wabi Sabi. Basically, though, it is a aesthetic predicated upon Buddhist philosophy, most notably Zen philosophy. And it focuses on the border of non-existing. So it's basically like, the closer something gets to non-existence, the more exquisite it becomes. So we break it down into each individual word, Wabi and Sabi. Wabi comes from the word Wa, which means peace, tranquility, balance, harmony. But originally the word Sabi meant sad, desolate, lonely, and it has come to be known now as kind of intentional humbleness. Sabi itself means the bloom of time, and it is the understanding that all true beauty is ephemeral and that all beauty is fleeting. So you see this in kind of tarnish and rust and the extinguished gloss of that which once sparkled. So when we add the two together, Wabi plus Sabi equals finding joy in simple things, finding joy in things sleeping and fleeting, whatever. And finding joy in things melancholy, and basically anything that is only a temporal kind of enjoyment is Wabi Sabi. So maybe we can give a contrastive. I'm sorry. Basically, what is not Wabi Sabi? Anything in a museum, anything in crate and barrel, anything that is meant to last or is extremely ornate is not Wabi Sabi. Wabi Sabi is basically the experience you have between you and an object that is temporary, is ephemeral, is tentative. So where does Wabi Sabi come from? Like all things Buddhist, it started in India, transmigrated over China, and ended up in Japan, where they really made it kick ass. Westerners all experience Wabi Sabi. The kind of penchant we have for like old college or European streets is what Wabi Sabi is. And it comes from the three marks of experience, which are anicca, which is that all things will cease to exist, but more so that things are in flux, like a leaf that dies and comes back next spring. Dukkha, which is nothing will bring lasting satisfaction in this life, and then nada, that there is no central core essence of who I am. It's just a psychological and physical composition. So hagiware is a perfect example of these, which is a Japanese type of pottery that's used in Japanese tea ceremonies. They look kind of amateurish, but are actually really expensive, and the glaze is supposed to be just phenomenal, and it produces thousands of cracks called kanyu, which tea sediment fills in over the years and changes the taste of their tea. The tea ceremony itself is a very elaborate process because the practitioner needs to know about calligraphy, about kimonos, about incense, about the types and production of tea. It takes several years to learn and usually lasts a lifetime. And as a whole, the whole ceremony is just meant to represent the serving of tea, but it's supposed to be done with grace and charm. Sendo Ryuko is one of these people that wanted to learn the way of tea, so he went to the tea master, Kinoko Chu, and wanted to learn from at his feet, but he turned him down and said, "You could be my janitor." So he went out and tended the garden. After he was done raking, he went over to a cherry tree, shook the tree, and the blossoms fell to the ground. And upon seeing this, Jew said, "Okay, you're in the school, but you understand it. This guy came on to be the father of Wabi Sabi too." Make sure we understand, Wabi Sabi is bare branches, is not floral arrangements, is crumbling stone, not polished marble, and it is rust, not dirt. And this is an important one because dirt is always dirt, but something had to suffer in age to acquire rust, and I think will probably become dirt eventually anyway. So the washitsu is a traditional Japanese room found in many homes, which is used for meditation or entertaining, as in a Japanese tea ceremony. And the interesting about this is you see these tatami mats right here. They determine the size of the room, not the architect. And the cool thing about these is they share a lot in common with the Hellenic golden ratio. So that leads me to my next slide, Wabi Sabi in design. Modernity insists that people adapt to technology, and the Wabi Sabi rebuttal to this would be that people need to adjust to nature. And I think we can stick a third leg in there and say that, we should make technology and modernity adjust to nature. And I don't mean that like in Al Gore kind of way, but in this way where one corner paintings where works of art, works of Sabi are the objectification of Wabi in space. And you can see how much negative space is here. There's actually a functional piece of, the entire art piece. And I think it's rare how often you'll find that, negative space is intentionally used as a functional piece of an artwork. And the Maja School of Painting is a superb example of this. It was a very esoteric, kind of weird school of art that no one paid attention to because they paid attention to not painting as much as they did to painting. And you can kind of see how the golden ratio works into this. There's kind of a spiral going on in that. But, I guess I can't talk about that anymore. Practical use of Wabi Sabi in your home. Uncluttered things. Things that you don't use daily should be stored. Western homes are notorious for not having enough storage. Let your paint chip, because there's a fine line between disrepair and a beautiful example of entropy. And let randomness happen, because people are spontaneous and random. And those people that are not are probably assholes. Using Wabi Sabi in your life. Keep things in perpetual beta, whether it's your website or your restaurant or the way you manage your employees. Keep it, a little bit random. Know when not to make decisions as well as when to make decisions, just like we saw in our one-corner paintings, and pare things down to the poetry that constitutes them. If you want to know more about Wabi Sabi, there's tons of great books. The most notable is Wabi Sabi for Artists, Designers, Poets, and Philosophers by Jonathan Karen. Or to slow down, sit down on a bench and stare at something very simple and ephemeral, and if you concentrate on it, I bet you'll get the gist of what Wabi Sabi is. And thank you. This is my last slide, the last slide of Pecha Kucha Night.